Hey, my friends, welcome to the 10-minute book talk where three best-selling authors talk all things bookish with you for 10 short and sweet minutes every week. I am Marie Bostwick. I am your lead hostess today, but I am here with my host eye with the most eye, as always, Katherine Reay, who is looking, wild and wonderful and coming from Montana. We can always tell when she's in Montana because she's got the whole Western woody background.
Wood.
And we also have Rachel Linden, who's coming to us from like 10 minutes from my house. So that's pretty awesome. The other thing that is awesome is that we have a dear, dear friend of mine, a stablemate from way back in the day who we have known each other since we were just baby authors. Cathy Lamb is with us today. She is a best-selling author of so many wonderful books. And she was kind enough to let me read her newest book, which has the best title in the universe, right?
And the best cover. It's gorgeous.
It's such a great cover.
Do not
But I mean, even the title, if you don't want to read this book after the title, there's something wrong with you. We probably can't be friends. So it's 10 kids, 2 lovebirds, and a singing mermaid. There's nothing not good about the book. It has a mermaid in it. So I'm excited about this book. I'm excited about to have Cathy here with us. Cathy, welcome to the 10-minute book talk. And my darling, tell us a little bit about your wonderful new book.
Okay, so 10 Kids is inspired by my childhood a little bit.
Ooh.
So I used to live on Deauville Drive. So Marie, if you hold that up, it calls the Deauville Street Families Book 1. So I used to live on Deauville Drive in Huntington Beach, California, and this was inspired by my childhood. I knew I couldn't write a memoir about my childhood because I'm super close to my sisters and brother and did not want to get upside down with them and invade their privacy. So it was just inspired by my childhood. So I put the whole book in the childhood home that I grew up in. But the families that are in there are completely different from my family. So both families have 5 kids. And in the opening scene, the husband is leaving the mother. And it's set in 1979. And they have 5 kids. And she had dropped out of college to marry him. And she is furious. And she's also scared to death. So he's walking out. It actually ends up being kind of a humorous scene. An Alfa Romeo car is watered with a hose and a pie is thrown in a face. And then this family with 5 kids at that moment meets the next door family with 5 kids and a singing mermaid. So it's a story about 2 families blending into one. It's a sweet story. It's a happy story. I loved writing it.
That is so fun. Okay, so you told us a little bit is inspiration of your childhood. So, but tell us some of the differences. Like, were some of the fun stories from your childhood, or did you just say, okay, that's my starting point, and then you added the swamp to Alfa Romeo and all those things? Like, give us a little insight into the.
So, if you can see this, can you see that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So that's our Huntington Beach house. So that is the same, okay? But in terms of, that's the house where it's set in. But everything I used to do as a kid, which you all probably did, is we went to school and then we came home and we played outside. And you're supposed to come in when the street lights go off, you're supposed to go in. And parents had a fairly light eye on their kids in terms of watching them, right? So we used to play outside, kick the can, hide and seek, Red Rover, Red Rover. We used to go up to our neighborhood park. And if you remember, there used to be merry-go-rounds that were like, you could get beheaded on them and you'd go flying off and you'd chase them, you go flying in the air. I mean, they were like a threat to our necks and to our lives. And none of the mothers ever thought to say, well, you shouldn't be on that. You could lose your arm. So we would do really daredevil stuff like that, climb fences, climb really high in trees. And that's what I spent my childhood doing. So in terms of the Alfa Romeo that you asked about, I had a second mother when I was growing up on Deauville Drive. And we just called her my second mother because she just loved me. I was a geeky, awkward, odd little thing. And all I wanted to do was read and play outside, but she made me feel special. She really did. Her name was Jeannie, and she was an artist, and she had a tattoo, which we just thought was wild. I was from like a very conservative Catholic family. My father at one point thought he would be a priest. I mean, We were in church twice a week, confession. She had a tattoo. She wore really low cut shirts where her cleavage came out. My mother's cleavage would never be out and about. She had her hair up all in a bunch of brown hair, and it was all over. And she wore really heavy makeup. My mother hardly wore any makeup. She was from the South. You just didn't do that. So Jeannie was opposite from my mother. My mother and her got along great. And I got along great with her too. And so I would watch her while she painted. Well, she had 3 kids. Her husband had an Alfa Romeo, and his name was Joe. So in this book, there is an Alfa Romeo. There is a husband named Joe, and Joe leaves the mother in my book. Jeannie's husband, Joe, left her in the Alfa Romeo.
Gotcha.
So in that first scene, Joe is leaving the family, leaving her with 3 kids, which again, for people who don't know, if you were a stay-at-home mom, 1979, it was very hard to get, certainly wasn't enforced. So in my book, the mother who is left waters his Alfa Romeo with a hose. And then, like I said, there's a pie tossed. So that whole scene was inspired by my second mother's husband leaving her high and dry with 3 kids in an Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
Wow. My goodness. I know that in this particular story, your main protagonist is an 11-year-old named Jessie, and Marie has just gone on about what a unique and wonderful voice Jessie has. I haven't gotten to read the book yet. I'm going to borrow it from Marie. But I'm just curious, what was it like to write from the point of view of an 11-year-old?
So I had not done that before. I always do first person, and the woman is in her mid-30s, 40s. I always leave the age a little bit vague. So I just tried to put myself in her place, right? So I just pretended I was that 11-year-old girl. And she's writing from somebody who's now 51. So I'm writing from somebody who's now 51. But the little girl is 11, and she's kind of precocious. She's curious. She watches everything. She likes to be outside, loves her family, loves to read. So I kind of put who I was into that voice. How would I have seen all of this going down? And I do have a brother and 2 sisters, and we did play all the time outside with the kids who I've actually mentioned in the books. Like we played with the Wongs, we played with the Miyashiros, we played with the Hows. And so I put my childhood friends' last names in that book. But I just tried to channel myself and who I was as a girl of 11, almost 12.
Wow. Oh, I love that.
You know, it is, and something you do so wonderfully, Cathy, is like the villains are super villainous. And so the retribution which is heaped upon them is so satisfying. I mean, this dad is really terrible, and he gets his just rewards and then some. And so I just, you know, I love that. If you're like, this is a book, guys, if you're feeling like there's no justice in the world, there's justice in this book. So you're going to really love it. I mean, there's a judge in here who I just wanted to kiss on the lips. So wonderful. But so as you can see, it's 2 kids, 10 kids, 2 lovebirds, and a singing mermaid. And the singing mermaid is wonderful. We don't have time to get into her, but she's great. But down here, you will see it is the Deauville Street Families Book 1, which I'm excited about because I presume this means there's going to be a book 2 or 3 or 28. Tell us a little more about the series. What happens next?
I have not plotted that book out, and I'm hoping there'll be more. I just want to make sure that people like it and they buy it. And then there will be more to come. I am going to put out a book in a couple months, and it's about a 70-year-old woman who finds love on a reality show. So,
oh my gosh, I love that.
What's that one called?
It's coming out. It's called Ruthie Deschutes O'Hara Has Ulterior Motives.
That is a great title.
Doesn't love
All
us.
right,
thank you.
Well, we will be looking for that. And Frank, gang, you need to definitely go get this one. But before we go, Cathy, because we know you have to go off and start working on book 2, because I need to know what happens next. All right.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the encouragement.
It's about my needs. Okay. So before we go, Cathy Lamb, my dear, A, thank you for being on the 10-minute book talk with us today. B, please tell us what is bringing you joy today.
I'm gonna garden.
Oh my.
Gorgeous.
I'm
Beautiful.
gonna garden. I'm gonna be covered head to foot in dirt. I actually washed my hair for you all, so but I'm going to be covered
Honored.
head to foot in dirt very shortly here. So I'm gonna garden.
Oh,
I'm going to
perfect.
write.
Gorgeous.
Fabulous.
That's
Have so
so
much
good.
fun.
I know you're a great gardener. Well, friends, not only is she a great gardener, she's a terrific terrific writer who gives you just a satisfying, happy, uplifting book with a great ending. Go right now, run, don't walk, and get yourself a copy of 10 Kids, 2 Lovebirds, and a Singing Mermaid by Cathy Lamb. And you know what? We'll see you next week here on the 10-Minute Book Talk. Bye, gang.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having me.
Thanks for coming.